What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and welcome to another review. Today we are taking a deep dive, or a quick dive, into the world of Bring Arts with the Bring Arts Dragon Quest XI Jade figure slash Martina, if you've played the game and know the lore a little bit. Now this figure has been one that's been on my radar for a long time. I actually had her in my cart for like a while, for a long while, but the price always threw me off. I was like, I've had some Play Arts and some Play Arts Kais, and I never felt like the price was worth it, so I was waiting for the price to go down. Then I found her on a Japanese site for the same price, but including shipping from Japan, so I was like, let me jump on it. But yeah, we're gonna take a dive in here and look at this figure, see if it's, worth it, see if she lives up to the hype, and we're also gonna just talk about, Dragon Quest and their figures. They're expensive, and if you have a history with them like I do, there's a lot to say. So my history with Dragon Quest starts way back in the day. This is a franchise that's been around for a long time. These are a couple of the games. They did a movie not too long ago called Your Story that was based on Dragon Quest V, kind of loosely, but my history started back with my old weekend cartoons, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. I used to watch Dragon Warrior. Now this series it was so much fun for me, and it was my first introduction to Akira Toriyama. I started the series when I was a kid. It got cut off. I was waking up at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings to watch this. It got cut off, and then I finished it as an adult. The story follows the hero, Abel, on his quest to rescue his childhood friend, kind of promised wife, Tiala, and all the stuff he goes through, meeting, different people like Yannick the wizard, Moko, his friend, the fat guy, and then my favorite is the little swordsman lady, Daisy. Now she kind of put me on to the whole shtick, my whole shtick of loving the fighter. Like if there's a character who can fight physically and is, skilled and trains and all that stuff, that's usually my favorite characters, especially the women that, fall into this. Daisy was dope. But yes, so today the character we're looking at comes from Dragon Quest XI. It's a game that's on my to-do list. It's a beautiful game. All these games are beautiful. They never really drop in quality. They're bright, they're cheery. They have their serious moments, but the tone is a slight change from Final Fantasy, but these things rival Final Fantasy as far as quality and design goes. It's just these don't take themselves as seriously as Final Fantasy takes itself, because man, Final Fantasy, woof, especially these days. But I've always looked at this from the sidelines, but these prices, man, like a lot of the shit I didn't even know existed. Today was the first time I actually looked up Erdrick's armor, because I didn't realize that they were making action figures all this time, and I just learned that Enix was making figures of this stuff way back in the day, so they've really been around for a long time. So some of the price is warranted as far as age goes. Alright, let's look at Jade, her Sculpt Paint. This figure is beautifully sculpted, accurately sculpted, like painstakingly so. I mean, like I posed her according to poses that she took in the game. I've watched a lot of gameplay in this case because I don't have the game yet, but it's just a beautiful figure. The colors are nice, the proportions are nice. She doesn't feel like overdone or oversexed. I know that in the game you can switch her up her costumes and stuff, but here it just feels like a pretty confident female warrior, and I dig that. She's like alternate universe Tifa. And Tifa's like the Mac mama of all of the fighting waifus. So it's kind of dope to have another version of this. I have no issues with the paint. I have no slop. Nothing was frozen. No joints were stuck. Nothing like that. The colors are nice and crisp. Nothing's chipping off. I'm cool with the way this figure came out. She came out really well done as far as Sculpt Paint goes. Now, one thing I was super excited about when I started this review is the fact that jumping back into imports, um, typically they have more accessories, especially when they come from like a game or a TV series or something, and they've used multiple accessories. So I like the fact that I have a shit ton of things to look at here. I mean, it's not too much, but it's enough. You know what I'm saying? Like it's enough to feel like you got something. So um, we'll start off with her gauntlets. They're called claws in the game. I know, right? Really original. Essentially, they're gauntlets that have a handle. She holds the handle, and the claws stay kind of open on top of her hand. You know what I mean? So she can block and she can attack at the same time. It's perfect for like fighters who want to get up close, and she can do both. She can do long range or decent range, and up close she can, like kickbox sort of. And this works. And like I said, it's really good for attack and defense. And it looks like she has two variations. The fancier ones look like they're dragon armor of some sort, and I like that. She has a bunch of hands on a hand tree. I don't know why I left that there. I'm going to get back to the hands. She also has more than one head with different expressions. And I like the fact that they did this. Sometimes I wish they just would do the faces like Figma's. And this is what they remind me the most of. But anyway, there's the kind of neutral face that she comes with, standard. There's the winking, kind of flirtatious face. And then there is her I'm about to whoop your ass kind of face. And they all look great. Of course, now we have the saber cat. For the longest time, I was like, what are these things called? I forgot. And then I remembered after watching my story again what they were. They always show up in these games. And this thing's been recreated perfectly. They're kind of like to Dragon Quest what chocobos are to Final Fantasy, kind of, sort of. There's a couple things, like slime is kind of like that also, the little teardrop thing you see. But anyway, as you see with this thing, there's like a lot of detail on it. A lot of detail. It's got articulation in the neck and the tail, and that's it. And I don't get what that tuft is at the center of his chest, but figured I'd show you it anyway. Stand is good, smaller than most stands, but it's just as effective as like your Mayfex stands and your the newer Reveltech Yamaguchi stands. I like it. I like the fact that the bar that you plug everything in on is thick. And then I also like the fact that they gave you an extra clamp just in case, because that's one of the things that happens over time. They break. You also can move the peg around in different spots on the base itself. And, it holds really well. The hand tree. So they did a similar thing to what Figma does with the presentation. It's almost like they took the hand tree from Figma, chopped it in half, and gave you these upright, hand things. The hands work. The hands all look nice. She's got emoting hands for both open and splayed out, and then open and like relaxed. Then she has two sets of gripping hands for the claws, and then gripping hands for her main weapon. I love the emoting hands because, as you can see, these aren't typical hands. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell she's a little prim and somewhat proper, and it fits. You know what I mean? Like, the hands fit perfectly. Now this is her main weapon. They call it a spear or a glaive. It's a guandao. Video games have a habit of renaming stupid shit. It's not a naginata, it is a guandao. But in the game they call it a glaive or a spear. You just pull the bottom off, slide the whole thing into her hand, and she holds it perfectly. And it's dope because it's the right length. It actually is tall, and you need these things to be tall so that she can use it the real way and have range. And I dig the way that it works with her, and it complements her design. I was having so much fun just posing her around and just seeing how this all works, because it worked. It looked good. Yeah, the accessories are pretty much a win. And now that brings me to the issues, the problems, the issues, and my nitpicks. I don't have any nitpicks. These are all actual problems. So we're going to start at the top. The hand pegs have on them what should be elsewhere, and I'll show you. Hand pegs here have that little lip around the top of the peg, so that when they go into the hole in the hand, they actually clip in, and there's something holding that peg in until you apply the proper amount of force to release the peg from the, the socket. Her neck does not have that. The neck peg is smooth all the way through. So you put her head in there, and then you move her around, and then the peg works its way out of the neck hole, which I don't get how a figure like this could have that kind of like mistake or that lack of engineering. You know what I'm saying? Like, the hole is smooth. There's no, like, they didn't reverse it where like the lip is inside of the neck hole, and then the peg itself has like something else that can catch. Nothing. So while I was doing this review, her head kept coming off, and I'm just like, really? Why? How could you miss that? And I'll zoom in on the way she's posed right here so you could see what I'm talking about. I moved her around a couple times, and it doesn't really take much because that ponytail adds a lot of weight to her head. So when you're moving her around and that ponytail moves, you end up with, shit moving around and the neck popping out. And I'm saying to myself, really? This is an expensive figure. Like I showed you, these figures, everything related to Dragon Quest, it's always begging a high price. And not all of it is rare, but since the line has been around for so long, or the franchise has been around for so long, they can kind of get away with that. But like when it comes to newer stuff, you have to warrant the price. I mean, I guess you don't, because they still sell it at the price they want to sell it at, right? The next thing, her tunic, or whatever you would call this, the train, I guess, on her, part dress thing. It doesn't move. It barely gives. It's made of a very tough plastic, so it's going to be around for a long time. It just doesn't get out the way. It's not bendable. I mean, you can fold it if you want to, but it's not bendable. So when you have her doing kicks and things like that, you really got to work at figuring out how to get it out of the way. And then up by her waist, it's glued in place. So you have limits to how you can pose her and how dynamic her legs can get. And I'm saying to myself, this is a lot of oversight for a figure that dropped at about $90. You know what I mean? $90. She's like a little over 5 inches, and she's $90. And then over here you have one of the perfect figures, one of the best figures I've ever had, Saber 2.0. She's got armor and the dress and the tunic piece, and all of it is articulated. How is it that Figma can do this with their figure and not break the bank? You know what I mean? They're not trying to beat you over the head, and it works. I mean, I don't know why you would not do this. Like, why would you not make any cloth, any drapery have some kind of articulation, even if you use a soft goods and then put a wire in there so that you can pose it and get more dynamics out of the poses and out of the figure. It would make more sense. And when you start getting up into these higher prices, there's absolutely no reason. I mean, this is a $90 figure versus a $63 figure at release. That doesn't make any sense. So, these are things that bothered me. It's things that were reasons for my slow, my waiting so long to jump in on this, because I noticed this with other Play Arts and Play Arts Kai stuff, and I've had a little bit of both, and I didn't really want to jump in on that, and I was hoping it'd be different here, but as you can see, these things are still kind of the things you got to look out for, and they're problems here for real. Articulation. So everything moves well. Her ponytail even has articulation, though I wish the ponytail itself was bendable so that I could get it out the way and really do dynamic stuff. But her neck, it's the standard movement, and you'll see it while I'm going through her movement here. Her head is going to pop out of the socket because it just works its way up because of the weight of the ponytail. See? And it sucks. I mean, that's probably the worst thing about her articulation. Everything else is pretty standard. I didn't have any other joints pop out, but you got to watch that neck piece. You can do the tilt a little bit. She can look up a little bit. She can look down a decent amount, which is usually the case. But again, $90 out the box. That's what you got to pay to play. $90. That's a lot. But you know, she's got the cool arm joints. I'm sorry, the universal arm joints. It's a ball joint, you know, in the socket. Then a universal at the shoulder where the bicep swivel happens. Then she's also got the regular single bend at the elbow that bends more than 90 degrees. Hands swivel and all that. The torso, it's the double barbell, but it's a single barbell, I'm sorry. All of the movement takes place at the top, you know, at her diaphragm. Everything else lower than that takes place in her hips. So I'm gonna move her upper body back so you can see that. Her legs, with the tunic the way it is, that's how far you can get it. You can't really go any farther than that. The tunic just is in the way, plain and simple. Now if you force it, you can get a little bit more, you know. For kicks, you're gonna have to be fancy about it, like, because in the game she kicks pretty high, so you're gonna really have to like either force the pose and fold the tunic out of the way. There goes the head again. That's what I'm talking about. But you can force the tunic out the way. You don't want to force it too much because you don't want it to rip at the belt, you know. So you can get higher kicks. You just have to be creative about it, because if you're not, you're gonna be mad. Like, that's kind of the kick she does when there's a part where she's talking to the hero, and if you give the wrong answer, she'll kick and you'll block it. She also kicks Hendrik like that as well, while he's on the horse. But anyway, like, she kicks pretty high. She has a thigh swivel, which is hidden nicely at the, you know, cuff of her shorts. Her knee only goes it's way less than or exactly 90 degrees. She's got the swivel and the bend at the ankle, and if you turn it and then, you know, bend it, you'll have the pivot. So it's not bad, and it's pretty tight too, so you don't have to worry about like having problems getting her to hold her body weight up, kind of like we had with the DC Collectibles Arkham Origins Batman figure. You don't have that issue here, even though the joint is similar. So you can get her to be somewhat dynamic, you know, and I like that. Sometimes figures just don't have the right they have the articulation, but it's not necessarily the right articulation for the sculpt. And I think with her, overall, she has the right articulation for the sculpt of this, you know, this character. So I can't really complain, except for a few areas that need some work. All right, let's compare. So I put her next to a bunch of different ladies from Hasbro, Mezco, Figma, and Figuarts, so you can get a nice idea of where she stands. And she looks good amongst them. She's her own nice size. And then I have Hasbro, McFarlane, Figuarts, and Figma, male figures, and she fits. I think what's cool about these kinds of characters is you need people of all sizes when you start mixing and matching, especially when you're playing with sword and sandal characters, which is something I love, you know, like RPGs and stuff like that. It's something I do in the background when I'm bored, and I like mixing and matching these characters from different universes and having them go on a quest together, and they look cool that way, you know. Some characters shine even more when you see them next to other lines that are similar in genre. And I think in this case, I mean, I was goofing off here, but you get an idea of what she looks like when you mix her up with other anime-like and anime-inspired-ish characters, you know? Of course, like, Jace looks way more masculine than what you normally get, and Strident just looks like the bad guy from most anime. And then Peely is like right at home. He's exactly, you know, what you would see in this stuff. But she just looks great in a nice little party. So I think they did a good job with that. And now for my favorite part, the bottom line. It's real simple. This figure is super accurate, you know? We've got Toriyama's art, We've got the in-game model and we've got the toy right next to it. It speaks for itself. This is why I've always been more into imports than American, domestic figures. It's just I live in America, so the things, comic book characters that I like, American comic book characters that I like, you got to get them here, and so you got to deal with who makes them. But whenever I move outside of that, I'm always super happy with what I get from my my import figures, because they pay attention to the things that matter. It's not all about, quickly getting the figure out there. It's about doing it right. And like I've pointed out before, a lot of companies will do it over and over to get it right. And I think with her, she might need another pass where they can fix the neck, fix the ponytail, fix the tunic, and then she'd be perfect. I don't think that the $90 price tag is a fair price tag for this figure. She's not $90 worth of toy. It's just not. You know what I mean? I get that the name, the line or franchise that she comes from kind of warrants a certain level of attention because it's been around for so long, and because they I don't know, they're just it's a pedigree, a certain pedigree, but it's not $90. It's just not. I think this could have been a $50 figure. I think with a lot of them, they could have been $50 figures, and they would be, extra dope. But I think if you do pick her up, though, and you find her for an okay price, something you're okay with, you can do way worse than this figure. She's a fun figure. You can tell from the poses and the amount of play that I did during this review. She's a fun figure, and I think you'll enjoy her, immensely. So I would give her like a B+, and pick her up if you see her. She's worth it. And so ends my review of the Dragon Quest XI Bring Arts Jade figure. Like I said, about a B+. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. As always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. You guys have been great. And peace outside.